All right, we're rolling. Thanks for having me, Casey Jones. We're sitting here just west of Milford at the CFE location.
Welcome to CFE.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Been here a couple of times just for fun, check out your work. And yeah, so I figured with Farm Country Trader, what better person to talk to than somebody who's living it day in, day out from an agronomy point.
Yes, welcome. Like you said, agronomy. That is what I do. I don't know if you want to start talking about the history of this location before we really start rolling, but I've been here 8 years now with CFE. Will be in July. A little bit about me is we go way
I
back.
know quite a bit about
Yeah,
you.
I don't need to tell you,
But let's just assume that there's people listening that don't know who you are, don't even know why people use chemicals, what the benefits are, stuff like that. You'd be surprised how little people know. We know a lot more, even though you think you don't know that much. We know quite a bit more than your average Joe.
that's what's been eye-opening actually I grew up on a farm. Born and raised on a farm. Row crop, cattle. I went to Iowa State, went for ag business, agronomy, graduated, did a couple interns in that time, got to CFE, and then all of a sudden you don't realize, holy crap, you don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Flat out. So experience has been huge in it, day in, day out. So yeah, then you learn or you understand how I take things for granted, really. I live it. I breathe it. I think the simplest things are simple to a point where then all of a sudden even my farmers are like
Lost.
yeah, lost. Exactly. We'll get into a lot of these questions here, but graduated from Iowa State in 16. Been here, like I said, 8 years in July. I trained under a woman named Melissa Bachman. She started her independent seed dealership here in 2008, I believe. So
Okay.
that's when this location was built. And then in 2016 is when she decided to go a different route, sell her seed business to CFE. A little history on that. CFE had merged with a couple co-ops in 2015. 16 came on board. So I was her trainee, essentially. She was,
And now you've got your own trainee just sitting out
yeah,
the door here.
yes, it's been a full circle, really, coming on board as a trainee, literally not knowing anything, just understanding. She's a huge mentor to me, understanding the seed business. That's where it all started. But then, obviously, as a co-op, we do a lot of other things. The chemical, the fertilizer, precision eggs. There's a lot of things we can keep talking about and going down a rabbit hole, but that's where it all started with seed and her. And then 5-6 years later, she wanted to do something else. At the end of the day, we established a nice customer base. We'll just call it I was a successor.
Yep.
It was seamless. It was great. I got to know all of her clients, had my own customers, all that. And then, yeah, she goes on to bigger and better things. And like you said, now I have a trainee under me, and I just think back of...
And how many kids do you have?
Yeah, we can get into that later, too. Yeah, father of 5 now.
Yeah, a couple of twins just recently, so you definitely got your hands full when you're not at work.
Yeah, they'll be 4 weeks old here Sunday. But yeah, so going back to there's enough going on. But one thing I did learn is it's a lot harder to, I'm going to say manage, but essentially trying to groom the next generation, call it the next generation, the successor, whatever.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm glad you brought up the word next generation because that's really where we find ourselves as well with Farm Country Trader. You're dealing with a lot of guys who are still using print, but at the same time, this next generation is the one that's going to be starting to do some of the farm decisions, and technology's ever changing and nobody knows what to use and whatnot. But I think I remember hearing something like 2/3 of farmers are still using filing cabinets and binders and stuff like that.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Looking at even the customer base I have, it's all over the board. And so you just have to, I look at, you try to segment the customers out and go from there. As you look around this office even, yeah, there's a lot of hard paper, a lot of hard copies, yada, and I started to declutter stuff because I realized I don't look at it, I don't need it. There's a lot of stuff online nowadays that gets either sent to you or you read up on or learn and stuff. Yeah, the filing cabinets,
Time to go.
they're gone. They're
Yeah.
going. I still file stuff, but obviously that's for hey, you got to keep records for 3 years. I guess I could scan it, put it in a file on the computer, and then throw it away.
Invest in a good printer with a good scanning capability that can handle at least, 60 pages at a time or something.
So that's more for probably like legal stuff and just something to come back to bite us on some spray application or I don't know. So
yeah, who knows?
I don't know. But we can get back into like going back into the CFE deal. Obviously, we're a co-op in Northwest Iowa. Geez, probably 20 some locations now. But a little bit, like I said, I focus on the seed. They call me an agronomy salesman. I focus on seed, fertilizer, chemical. That'd be the specialties. And then obviously there's some precision ag things and services we offer and do. And yeah, we're direct to the farmer.
And you're really their go-to expert, whether you like to be called it or not. They put a lot of faith and trust in you and how you keep up to date.
That's a big hot topic, or whatever you want to call it, where we try to be their trusted advisor. There's a lot of noise out there with different things, and if you can be that guy that they rely on or they reach out to and pick your brain, go through stuff.
And you want to be. It's just
exactly
it's sometimes really tough to get them to trust you as that expert.
Right. That's where you learn really quick. People still buy from people. You might not have the best price on certain things. The whole package, at the end of the day, you'll learn everyone's really competitive anyways. It's going to be close, but still people buy from people. Relationships matter. And farmers, when they get comfortable with a certain person or whatever, I think at the end of the day, it's hard for them to leave. No differently if they're tied into a bank somewhere or tied in somewhere and they obviously have good relationships and have had good past experiences. Good luck trying to get them to leave. It is hard.
And that's to some extent with a lot of people who get started with selling or buying something from somebody else. There's always that big obstacle of, oh man, what am I all going to have to deal with when I change? And change is scary, of course, and you're dealing with a lot of potentially older traditional type clients. And so yeah, I guess I'm not terribly surprised to hear that you're not the only one with that struggle.
Yeah. And that's even going back when I first started. I was a trainee. It was the conversation with my managers and all that. Hey, when do I become, I call it agronomist? When do I get that promotion or whatever you want to call it, name, title change? It was hey, at first, don't even try the first year, maybe 2. Understand.
You got to earn it.
Yeah, understand what we're doing here. Know the processes, the products. And that's where it clicked with me, was finally product knowledge and confidence went hand in hand. Yeah, I'm not a guy, I can't go sell you some snake oil and just do it just to get a sale.
You got to believe it. You got to understand it.
Yeah. So with product knowledge and understanding everything with it, confidence goes with it. Next thing you know,
confidence sells, by the way.
Yeah. You're confident, you're talking to guys, and and then next thing you know, you're on the farm, you're there, and you're growing business and market share with guys, and it's seamless, it's organic, or whatever you want to call it. Like
it just clicks.
Just goes.
Yeah. But then you only have so much time during the day.
Yeah, time is probably the biggest limiting factor with anything in life. I don't know.
It really is, no doubt.
We only have so much time.
And that work-life balance is the tricky part of the whole equation that you got to figure out. Everybody's different. When somebody with 0 kids versus somebody with 5 is going to have a different work-life balance, and that's just going to be a requirement for your family to grow and be healthy.
And that's what I need to get better at, as in efficiencies with my work, so then it doesn't take up the family time. If I'm not organized or have figured out my efficiencies with certain customers or whatever, whether it's selling or servicing or whatever, that's just going to cut into, I'm going to call it home time. Or I farm and have cattle on the backside, so I'd hate to throw my brother under the bus and tell him to keep
buckwheat.
Buckwheat. I hate to do all this work because I'm doing this over here. So I've learned, and I need to get better at it.
And everybody does it different.
I know.
It's just crazy. And then you try and get people to buy off on how you organize things. And if you're like me, you're pretty bad at communicating how you want things done, but you know how you want it done.
Yep. That's a good one. The wife communication's a big one with her, and I guess work in general. But
yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's totally a struggle. And yeah, nobody's immune to it by any means. Before we start getting into the bread and butter of these questions, I'd like to hear just a little bit of your family and its farming history.
Yeah, going back with my dad, he grew up on a small farm. My grandpa farmed a little bit. The 80s essentially took him out. I don't know.
Our family too.
Yeah, I don't know the exact dates. I just know the 80s. It was hard. He had a farm sale. Obviously, I wasn't around at that time, but they had actually a pretty good-sized cow-calf operation. They farmed a little bit. The 80s took him out, and that's when my dad actually stepped in and I'm pretty sure just bought out my grandpa's stuff and started farming. And he had a pretty good mentor towards the Minnesota border that kind of got him into farming. And so he started farming a little more acres here and there, picking up more ground. And we've always had a Black Angus cow-calf operation with my other grandpa, my mom's side, Brunsvold. So it all started, I guess, back then. So Dad and his father-in-law got in with the cows, started farming more and more ground. And then so as it sits today, my dad still runs the family operation, the farming. He's got majority of the acres on the row crop, corn and beans, very little bit of alfalfa. And then he's a third interest of the cow-calves along with myself and my brother. So we run a small feedlot, cow-calf operation, row crop. My wife and I have some farm ground. We farm a little bit. That we're lucky enough that her father owns the ground. That was just in the county, whatever. So as it sits today, we farm in Dickinson County, a little bit in Emmett County, and then cow-calf. So we stay plenty busy.
Yeah. Any future plans for the farm? Any fun new things? You gonna get any quail soon, or buy some chickens so you don't have to pay $12 a dozen?
Yeah, actually, I was talking to Liz. If I can get the right structure built on the farm, I want to get some chickens, just some layers, whatever, just a little bit, and then create a little chore habit for our oldest.
Yep, that's all we're thinking too. Although I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the one doing most of it, but
yeah,
it gets you outside.
Yeah,
and that's what these kids need.
Yeah, so a little bit of chickens, maybe some guineas. Liz really didn't like the guineas at first, but when you have we live on an acreage we don't have any livestock on our acreage. It's a short 20 acres, some CRP around it right now, but with a little bit of life running around the farm, there's something about that.
There's something about it.
So the cows and the calves are 2-3 miles down the road, which is nice. But so future on the farming side, we're planning on trying to expand our cattle feedlot, working on some designs, buildings. Luckily, with some of my customers and knowing some people, they've been helpful and knowledgeable on what we should do, how should the layout go, and what's right for square footage for the fat cat in the lot, and how much water, how much bunk space, and
a lot to think about.
So yeah, so right now we're trying to. I'm not gonna say double our feedlot, because like I said, we only feed out about 150 steers. When I say only, there's so many. There's so many big feedlots.
That reminds me of the time where I was deathly afraid, and Dermot Hayes' class. You remember every week or for a while, he would make us all stand up and then say how big our farm was or whatever.
I don't remember that. My memory's terrible though.
Oh, I hate speaking here I am, right?
Yeah.
Just hate talking out loud or making a big deal out of anything. And I already knew in the back of my mind, I got 100 acres. Yeah. And I'm sitting in this room and we sit in the back, you and me, and some of these kids got thousands of acres and thousands of head. And I'm just like, I remember saying, yeah, I only have 100 acres. And Dermot, he could tell I was like being hard on myself. So he goes, man, when I was a kid, you have no idea how hard that would have been to maintain. So that just shows you how big of a difference farming has gone through, even just over the last, I don't know, probably 40 years.
Oh, yeah. Like, I get questions all the time from, you have a lineup of equipment and things have gotten bigger and faster. And everyone asks, when do you go from one lineup of equipment to the second lineup? What acre? That's a moving target. How close are your acres? How far are you traveling and all that? But I think 5,000. I don't know. That 5,000 acres I think is about your number of going from one set of equipment to two. Then all of a sudden, it's a whole new ball game. Do you have enough help? It's no longer your family farming to be. There's still family farming and all that, but it's
hard to get all those people all the family to buy in on the same mission, you know, and it can cause tension and stuff. And so it does get hard. I feel like you probably make a decision between, all right, this is our Jones side of the family farm, and then maybe there isn't this whole group, because it just gets so hard to cut everybody in and buy in on that mission.
Because if you're bringing that many people in, you're going to need to make it work nowadays.
Right. Well, you got to get
growing
paid.
Or what? Yeah. You can't keep cutting the pie out and then not bringing anything to the table, whether it's to the corporation or to the family farm or whatever it is. Yeah. I think looking at it, as our family farm stands, Dad can only do so much. I won't tell you exactly how many acres for his sake, but we're over 2,000, but we're under 3,000. And
it's always, for people who don't know, farmers are very humble people, and and just a little bit private, and they don't necessarily like to give exact numbers on what they got. And it's not uncommon.
Yeah, no, and we've been good about, like we look at all the acres we farm. I'd say majority of it's cash rented, some of it's owned.
And there's so many different labels of how you're operating on that land.
And we're lucky. A lot of the stuff, it's really close. I'd say we're lazy farmers. And what I mean by that is we don't travel 3 counties over to farm. Yeah. Once that starts happening, then at the end of the day, I wouldn't be working at the co-op. It's going to be diving all in.
And do you want to be driving all that heavy equipment over the road and getting it from here to there and not spending time in the dirt?
Honestly, I think, like I said, Dad does it all. My brother and I will weekend farm. We'll get some help with the uncle and stuff. So it is pretty well all family. We don't bring anybody hired in. That's not family. I think.
So I can't come work for you?
I'm not saying that. I don't know what our wages are. Never been there. But there's a point where, like Buckley will take time off, but I think we're pretty well maxed out on, I'm going to call it a one-man show. My dad does the planting, he does the spraying, he does the side dressing. We'll help where we can, and obviously in the fall we need all hands on deck to haul the grain, but we're pretty well maxed out. But it is always in the back of your mind, if you ain't growing, what are you doing?
And the market kind of pushes you to grow.
Yeah, that's some of these questions that I looked up. Yeah, that's in there. I don't know where these small farm families are I don't know. They're gonna be around. There's too much old money, I'm gonna call it. Or
I think there's a lot of old money. I think there's mattresses with cash in them somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at. It ain't around here yet, but
nobody tells you you got it. It's in the freezer.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about our little history there was in our farming, how I grew up and why I wanted to go to Iowa State, major in ag business, got a minor in agronomy, and then did some internships, realized what I thought I liked and didn't like, and then I'm here.
Yeah.
So
you made it. Here you are.
Wow.
Wherever you
always
go, there you
constantly trying to make it.
Yeah, I know. It's a moving target too.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to dive in. I gave you a bunch of questions and just let you pick through them. Someday we're going to have so many people subscribe to watching this and our Patreon account that they'll post some questions for the person that they know is coming up. But for now, it's me and AI. I full disclosure, typed in a little snippet, what I'm working on, and came up with some pretty good questions, I think, and just wanted to let you pick through it and get your take.
Yep.
Because I really see you as the expert.
And you see me as the expert, and I know.
And you don't feel it.
No. Like I said, 8 years. I work with guys that have been in it for 40. They've seen a lot more, but I'd say we're a new generation, so we like to try different things.
We're never happy. It's like we get all of our information too quick, and we don't have to read it in a book like they used to, and it really gets ingrained. But the thing is, too, is the world's moving fast enough that to say that you're an expert just because of time doesn't really apply anymore.
Right.
Because there's new ways of doing things, and the world's got to keep up. So really the experts, to me, it just takes one, you want to be that expert. You got to believe it, but you also got to keep your ear to the ground. It's just a constant thing. And if you're not constantly keeping your ear to the ground, then I don't think you're an expert either.
So yeah, I'll pick on one of these questions here to start off. What emerging technologies do I think will revolutionize farming in the next decade or so? Yeah, when I think about this, you could go at two ways or two angles. We'll start with equipment. There's a ton of different technologies coming out with equipment. Obviously, equipment is getting bigger, faster. Guys are covering way more acres.
And automated.
So that's one thing we'll talk about so we'll talk with, it's out right now, but it's obviously everything needs to get, I don't know, combed
Dialed
over,
in.
yeah. So the see and spray technology, that is where, for right now, I think John Deere has it. I'm sure other manufacturers do, or looking into, or working on it, but essentially it's where they got these cameras. I don't know how expensive or high def or whatever, but
I'm sure they're 4K.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly about that, but what I do know is they're on the boom, and they are constantly monitoring, going across the field, depicting and picking out what's a weed and what's not.
Isn't that crazy?
I still can't get my head around it. Obviously.
Nobody can. And you get to the point where humans can't do it. It's because there's a computer behind it that's able to, in real time, computate things, what a weed is versus a piece of corn. But you also can't shoot out just a little squirt of spray at 100 different spots at the same time.
So when this first came out, I'm like, no way. Whatever. This ain't gonna work.
I remember the story about what your grandpa said. Life doesn't get any better once there was a cab on a tractor. It says we've reached peak tractor.
Yeah.
There's nothing better.
Got the cab on the tractor, the first loader, and we made it.
We made it.
But
the future is here.
Yeah. So going back to that see and spray technology, at first I'm like, no way. We're putting 5 to 8 different tank mixes in. Weeds aren't getting easier and easier to kill. It's hard. You can put there's different tanks. There's one big tank on the sprayer that you can mix all your, I'm going to call it your broad spectrum things or residuals or whatever, soil residuals that need to be on the whole acre to prevent weeds from coming up. But then with the see and spray, you can add certain herbicides in these, I'm going to call them a kicker tank or whatever, where then it'll just shoot that specific herbicide on it because it's a contact killer. Certain herbicides are residuals and contact and and so at the end of the day, instead of putting that herbicide across the whole acre, there's two things. You can now save money.
There's less money for you because they need less chemical.
And why spray a contact herbicide on maybe it's 80% of the field that there's no weeds on? So so looking at it, I think that's going to actually become a bigger thing. And with that, who knows, with the rules and regulations coming down the line, maybe it'll be mandatory. I don't know. But there's so much that goes into chemicals nowadays, and we could go down a huge rabbit hole.
I like the rabbit hole. Keep going. Go where your mind is thinking.
Just with, we'll call it EPAs, the court rulings, Roundup, Bayer is bleeding right now. Those Roundup
I remember
cases,
you mentioning that.
Whether you want to believe that Roundup causes cancer or not or whatever, but
there's about a billion other things that people eat and drink daily that cause cancer, though.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's hard to understand. I don't know how they pinpoint, hey, this is from Roundup.
Yeah, me neither. And if you look at some of these chemical labels, I probably need to do a better job, but I'm not scared of Roundup compared to the other stuff I see.
I've seen guys, yeah.
We'll just put that in there. And it's just weird how the class actions, they just start rolling on certain herbicides and start going. But
I'm sure it's getting abused a little bit by certain people.
I think once the courts set a precedence on things. And anyway, yeah, Bears, they're bleeding on that. But so, yeah, rolling back into that see and spray, I think that'll be a big thing just on the chemical savings, but also lowering your cost per bushel because you're not spending it. And then also just not putting that herbicide out there for fun, we'll call it, broad spectrum stuff. But another thing would be drones.
Yeah, I was at the farm show and there were about, I guess at a minimum, 6 different drone companies. And everything from as big as this table here, which is about, what do you think?
Oh, 3x4.
3x4, all the way up to maybe 10 feet across.
Yeah.
And I've actually, out by my place, seen the CFE drone technology that you guys must be using.
Yeah, the drones that CFE has invested in, we see it as a thing of the future. And so, yeah, we'll have, 2, 4, 6. Are we going to be running 6? Gosh, 6 or 12 drones. I don't know. It's a lot. I'm not
Quite the fleet.
That's a sector that I'm not involved in yet. But yeah, drones, the spray drones, the big spray drones that can do, I don't know, 40 acres an hour, depending what we're doing. I think that's going to be a great thing in the future. For timeliness is always a big thing. The co-op, if you look back at the co-op and what we can do for farmers, our equipment, the speed and the widths of our equipment hasn't changed a whole lot, really. Like with our floater, our dry fertilizers, our sprayers, and these farmers keep getting bigger, faster, and it's hard enough to keep up with them. 2 65-foot field cultivators going that can do, and they work through the night.
Yeah, and they want it right away. Yeah. And you don't blame them either, because a lot of the times you're looking at the weather, you're thinking, hey, there's some rain coming, or maybe you're just coming off some rain. And is this field ready for me to go into or not?
So like last year, obviously we had so much rain.
Yeah, you did. We did. In a short amount of time in my area, we got 12 to 15 inches. So
in that
about
week,
2 days.
Yeah, so with all the rain we had, going back on the drones, we actually applied the labeled what we could. There's certain chemicals that we can't apply aerial, but we put bean pre's on. Bean pre's, to dumb it down, is we layer that across the ground, so when the weeds try to come up, it stops it. So it's a pre-emerge. It's good for 30 days roughly, but we couldn't get machines out in the field. It was just wet. Right. So then if we couldn't have, then it's...
And there's no compaction with drones. And
right. So I think that'll become a bigger thing in the future. Fungicide, we're doing that with drones. So timing, I like that tassel time. If we get behind on airplanes, we'll get there in 7 days. It's probably fine, but timing's key with
not
certain
always.
Things. Yeah.
And then you're missing just that perfect opportunity that you as an agronomist probably know. Every day we're losing yield.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's why drones, they're not going to replace an airplane or a helicopter when we start doing the fungicides for now. Who knows what could happen with the swarms they talk about and all that. But another thing with the spray drones and drones in general, I think scouting drones are going to become bigger and bigger. The cameras on those things are incredible. They can take NDVI imagery now. There's programs.
And what is that?
It's where essentially it'll take a bunch of pictures above the field. We'll pick on an 80, and it'll segment out what's good, medium, average, bad, all throughout the field based on the, I'm going to call it like the chlorophyll production in the corn, or what it looks like, if it looks healthy or not.
You can see how the plant's health is.
Right. Obviously, in certain fields, if it's a red spot, it's probably because, who knows, maybe it's too much water or a disease or whatever. But it essentially breaks it out, and it tells you at the end of the day what part of the field's going to yield better than the other. I should know what NDVI stands for.
Just so you know, one of my biggest gripes in this world is acronyms, because nobody knows what they are other than the people who are just...
Yeah.
That's something that makes you an expert, is understanding an acronym. But at the same time, they just get in the way of people knowing what the heck's going on.
God. It's a plant... It's a plant health imagery picture. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Is that plant healthier in that spot? Yeah. So with the scouting and all that, but also with those cameras, they can start picking up weed detection. Is there weeds out there, what they are? And then also rocks. Yeah, there's a service we're coming out with. We can fly your field, and it'll pick up, I think, starting at 6 or 7 inch diameter rocks. It'll fly it, pick it out, and then it'll give you the best efficient way to go pick the rock.
Wow.
So
kids don't even have to pick rocks anymore. That's baloney.
Well, you can hire it done, but I'm actually thinking about doing it on, we have rocks, plenty of rocks, but I have a few fields that you might get, 20 rocks, which isn't a lot compared to what
some 20 that you don't have to deal with.
But I want to, going back to time, efficiency, like, this sounds terrible, but do I have a Saturday to go waste, to go walk 80 acres or 160 for what possibly could be a rock in this row or not, or in this swath. So maybe it's, okay, I'm going to spend a couple bucks an acre. Sounds bad to spend, say, $300 on an 80 or whatever it is. And it's going to tell me where to go pick it up, because maybe I can go make money elsewhere in my time. I don't know.
No, that's pretty unique. That's pretty cool. I had no idea, nor would I have ever thought of that.
Yeah. And then obviously also what the autonomous equipment, I don't know if that's going to be a thing in our area with smaller fields, but
not until it makes sense from a money standpoint. Farmers are a little leery when it comes to technology and adopting things that could take them over. I think it's going to be hard to adopt, but if the market pushes people to it, that's when you're going to start seeing. Yeah.
And there's more, when you say there's things today in the tractor cabs. You push a button, it'll lift your planter, it'll turn for you and put it right back where you need to go.
Yep.
Actually, this sounds bad, but that's huge, because sitting in a tractor all day, it's a lot more strenuous when you have to actually drive the tractor. This sounds weird.
No, I know, because my wife's car has the ability to basically drive itself for lane keeping, essentially. Yes. And yeah, when we go on a long 4-hour trip, and I've used that versus when I'm driving myself, which I do like to do, it's a night and day difference on my energy level by the time I'm done.
Yeah, so the strain, So I don't know. Like, it sounds, I don't know, like you're a spoiled brat or whatever, but
you're not the only one using this technology.
Oh, so. There's more farmers out there using the auto steers. Not everyone's doing that turn deal, but there's so much technology out there. It's making it easier on farmers to go longer and not have the strain, and actually, hopefully it prevents farm accidents in a sense, because people are just going longer, harder, faster, and and then what other technology? I think these big manufacturers in the egg industry, like the Bayers of the world, the Cortevas, Syngentas, BSF. The big three is Bayer, Corteva, Syngenta. They are constantly coming out with things that are revolutionizing how we make decisions and farm and make it easier on us. They're coming out with different trait packages or products that have different resistance to certain things that make it easier, I would say, for us to not make mistakes, not spray the wrong herbicide on a certain tolerant bean or corn, and next thing you got a whole dead field. So
yeah, that sounds like a pretty bad day.
Yeah, those guys is R&D that they're spending. There's a reason why yield corn and beans keep going up.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even just the last couple of years, conditions haven't been great, but I know multiple farmers who are just record year after record year, and it's like, I feel like we've been living in a drought. We've had localized floods and stuff, but seriously, the traits must just be getting better. The genetics must just be getting better, more drought tolerant, just overall better yields.
Right.
Bigger ears, I don't know.
And then I hear it, what's this cost per bag?
Like, it used to be like, I don't even know what it is anymore, but I used to make seed, not, myself by any means, but I worked at the seed corn production plant in Ogden for AgriLiant. So I actually know what it takes to get the seed from the field. Even you're chopping down these sucker plants because you don't want contamination and blah. That was a hard, long, grueling work that I decided wasn't in my future. Yeah. At least for now. Never say never, but.
Yeah, so I'll go back real quick. Is a bag of seed corn retail, depending on the trait package, easy numbers, anywhere from $300 to $350, depending on what trait package. So beans, I don't know, $50.
I can tell you the seed corn to make the seed corn is like over $1,000 a bag. So nobody better be feeling too bad.
Yeah. So
you guys don't do any of to see if you do anything with genetics or seed?
No, the main thing CFE does. So we're in the retail business.
Mostly retail.
Yeah. So that gives us the option. We can sell all different brands, whether it's DeKalb, Asgrow, Cropland, NK, LG, Brevant. So we have a whole scope of things we can choose from. But one thing CFE does is over west, our head agronomist in CFE, Jeff Blauett, he does a pretty intensive trials. He's got plots and trials and all that, and he goes through that every year to essentially, I mean, we're trying to bring the best
Right. It's in your best interest.
to our members and farmers, and that's what we do. We don't have our own genetic line.
You don't have a test, like a real genetic testing type
Nope.
operation. No.
Nope.
And I didn't think so, but yeah, I don't know that it seems even necessary or good. I think there's enough people working on that stuff.
Yep.
All right. What question would you like to move on to? Should we just go down the list here, or?
Yeah, some of these we probably won't spend too much time on, but let's see here. How do I see the role of GMOs?
Which
genetically modified organisms.
Yes, which is so scary to everybody. And,
evolving and sustainable ag. So
GMO, another acronym.
Yeah, that's why I said that. Gosh, what kind of word do you want to call that? I don't know, it's called a trigger word, but yeah, GMOs, not too long ago, it was... here's my opinion. We have to have them.
I don't see any way around it to feed the world. Not that... I know that we have a waste issue too.
Yeah.
And I know America also has an overeating issue. But I'm just as guilty of that. And we need more.
Yeah. We have to... For agriculture to be sustainable and to produce what we need to produce, they help mitigate the risk to raise, call it, more bushels. We'll just talk about the corn and beans and stuff. And I know guys that do the non-GMO stuff, but if we talk about different farming practices and all this...
And just so you know, I worked at an all-organic farm in Panora, and he's coming up.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, my opinion, we need it. There's no going away from it, unless you want the world to starve. My opinion.
That's all right.
But I do think all different practices in all the organics or the not whatever, I think it can be done.
It definitely can.
Yeah.
But it does depend a little bit on market prices and stuff. It's a higher. He's not spraying. He is tilling up the land.
It's labor intensive.
Until he can't till it up because he starts hitting the equipment and he's doing more damage than good.
Yeah. And we'll probably get into a little bit of that later because I'll just get into it now. Like the non-GMO stuff in the organics, it's a lot more labor intensive.
So we're not using,
So you're using mechanical equipment to take care of, I don't know, call it weeds and not diseases, but just to make sure you have a crop.
Right.
But as we keep going forward, there's all these major private businesses nowadays that are trying to incentivize farmers to change different practices, like the tilling, the plowing, the deep tillage because of carbon, the carbon credits. That's becoming a huge So
you owe me lunch.
Yeah. Okay, fine. It's, what do you call it? Counterintuitive? Is that what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
But then you go to the grocery store and there's a lot of people, maybe they're not knowledgeable or whatever. They're going to pay a premium for if they want that non-GMO. Even though what cracks me up is there's some things in the grocery store, there's no such thing as GMO certain fruits and all this. So it's
a branding, marketing strategy
and it works.
To some extent, and it does work.
It works.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of guys, and I talk to growers, they laugh at it, and I'm like, why are you laughing at it? People are branding it, marketing it, making more money for it because people want it, and you're not doing anything about it. Because I don't know. So it's, but the GMO thing, it's going to be here. It's not going away.
Yeah, it's definitely not going away. And I don't, like you said, to stay competitive and just to keep your operation rolling, farmers have to rely on those traits that we've been breeding into seed corn and soybeans and all that stuff. Everything is genetically modified to some extent. I feel like technically you and I are genetically modified. Yeah.
Just a quick little plug on some of the stuff these companies have done to help mitigate risk and put more bushels in the bins. There's certain insects that we fight against. If it wasn't for some of these GMOs and traits and all this, it could be 100, 150 bushel yield hit. Not even close. I've seen corn flat on the ground because of certain corn rootworm.
Mhm.
Oh, seen it flat on the ground. It's wow. So now obviously they have trait packages and all that to prevent against that. And like I said, to have 100 bushel swing because of that, yeah, I've seen it now. So
Yeah.
it's whoa. So that
Thank
again,
God
is
that's
it
not
worth?
me.
Yeah, it's like, should I spend an extra $20 an acre, which is 5 bushels, to protect myself against what could happen? I don't know. So yeah.
Your vote would probably be yes.
Yeah, do you want to sleep at night? Do you want to farm next year? I don't
What
know.
about insurance?
Yeah, there's another hot topic in general.
And yeah, another hot topic. Let's just hop into a fun one. Not really fun, but do you see that the USDA is not sending out some grant money that they said they were going to?
I have not seen that.
Is
that with what are you talking when the administration put a hold on a lot of the...
I think it's conservation related. Some of the guys who have been doing some more conservation type work
practices
with the idea that they're only doing that much of it because they're going to get some sort of grant money.
Yeah.
And good for them. You see a lot of fields in Iowa that still need a little, you could use a waterway here, or do we really need to be farming that over there?
Yes. No, you can be a lot more, efficient with the piece of ground. It's not that hard to look at an 80 and be like, wow, we should just put that 5 acres into
duck pond so you and I can go duck hunting.
Something. Let's look at Mr. Grower the last 5-10 years. You lose money on these 5 acres every year. Like certain things like that. But it takes time, and a lot of people, they don't want to mess or get involved with the government with some of these programs. EQIP programs, CSP programs. Those are the ones like, that's that adaptive, hey, do you want to adapt cover crops or VRT? There's your plug.
Yes, keep going.
Variable
Acronyms
rate
are great.
The variable rate technology to put certain amounts of fertilizer on this piece of the field because it needs it and not that. So there's a lot that farmers do that, like you said, people have no clue that are doing good. We're not just dumping. You think we just want to dump nitrogen out there and we want it to go into our rivers and
But
streams?
there are some not so smart farmers at the same time who are just looking to unload all this excess that they have.
So
it's not everybody. It's always the 3 out of 100 that give the 97 the bad rap.
Yeah. So it's we don't want to waste money and lose money. We're here, obviously, to make a living. We love it. It's in your blood, and to gain equity, we'll call it. Whether that's growing the farm or buying
you want to improve the land.
Yeah.
You want to be a good steward. You don't want to see your soil blown away.
Yeah. Yep.
Because then what happens when you don't have that soil? There goes your opportunity. Start housing development, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of the blowing away stuff, it's hard to see that. But in the wintertime when we get snow, you can start picking up all that dirty snow in the ditch. And a lot of people, it's hard to grasp. But yeah, that top 6 inches is your most productive piece of soil.
And how deep do we plant corn? Is it 2?
It's 2 to 2.5.
2 to 2.5.
I tell guys no shallower than 2. You start shallowing that up, then you're starting to affect brace roots later on and your standability and your root system and all that. I don't know. That top 6 inches, it's everything. So
that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, it might have been 3 or 4 years ago, our neighbor, not going to pick on them, but they thought it was a good idea to do some type of tillage practice. It was a new equipment, and it just made the top of the soil very fine. It was that winter, it blew enough. That fall, it was before winter, and it looked like a snowbank of soil, topsoil, in the ditch.
That makes me want to puke.
Yeah. And
I think you sent me a Snapchat of that, actually.
Oh, I have pictures. I just wanted to inform my customers and growers. I took some of the soil, and I sent it in and got it sampled. Off the charts.
Just the best stuff.
Oh, like, if people had that in their field.
Colombian band.
I'll tell you what, 600 bushels with that type of soil I had is not out of the question. It was off the charts on phosphates, potash, organic matter was through the roof. It was just, like I said, the best stuff.
So there you go. Everybody listen at home. If you want to be a farmer, just drive around in the gravel roads. You can get some 5-gallon buckets. And
you're going to need a lot more than that. But they did. They got their skid loader they put her all back out on the field because they knew. But that's just a little plug on just trying to inform my customers and growers that
yeah, you got to look at, and that's why we're seeing more people with cover crops and stuff. I'm sure, because that's the kind of stuff that holds your good soil there.
Yes. Yep. Let's see here. Let's go to another question. Challenges small farms face,
and how can they be addressed?
Ugh. I don't know if I have all the answers for this, but
no, nobody does. But what are you seeing? What's your 2 cents?
What I'm going to say with this is, maybe it's not quite on this question, but, and you might have talked about this with Scott, getting into farming, just to entry into farming, the capital cost is way too great. It's not going to happen today. It just won't. So the way guys, or these smaller farms, whether you have a whole farm family history or whatever, or maybe you're a hired hand with a guy and they have no succession plan, or maybe you are, that's the only way these small, or it works.
So if you want to be a farmer, go get to know a farmer.
Yeah, or if they have a succession plan or something, which is, everyone's terrible at that. No one wants to talk about succession planning.
No, because it's scary to think that it's not going to be in your family anymore, or stuff like that. I feel like it's just, and then you got to start exposing how much you're making and how much you have, and
it's
a tough conversation.
Yeah, so these small farms in the future, I don't think they're going to go away because maybe everything's paid for and yada. But equipment's not getting cheaper. And who knows where inputs will be and stuff. But the cost per acre, if your costs keep going up because equipment or whatever, and you're still going across that many acres, your cost per acre keeps going up. So will it wean them out? Some of them probably no, because they already have the 80 paid for, and the price of ground just keeps going up. So now, I don't know if the bank will evaluate it that way. They don't. So how can the challenges be addressed? I don't know. That's a head scratcher in its own.
There's no one way, but I think a good place to start is just to go meet a farmer who potentially you start that conversation with them and you say, hey, I think farming's cool. Is there any way I can help out? Can I run the grain cart? Can I get to know you? And I think the farmer's got to be open to that to some extent, but there are farmers out there who they don't have the kids that want to farm. Right. Not everybody's like you and I wants to go to Iowa State for agriculture or anything.
Yeah, and I think with some of these small farms, it might not be enough to make it work. What I mean by that is they're going to have to get an off-farm job or something. I don't know what's considered small. Is that under 500 acres, under 250? I don't know, but a lot of these smaller, we'll call them hobby farmers.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah, hobby is expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't, yeah.
Yeah, and where I've struggled with it is when you're a hobby farmer, you're trying to do things that maximize the price you're going to get for something. And you're working with a small amount of land typically, and you're trying to get the most bang for your buck. And so you pitch this idea to the USDA, hey, I've got these Scottish Highlands, and then you couldn't even, I shared with you what the price of Josh's cows went, and it was pretty surprising, right? There's a way to do it, but at the same time, the banks don't like to work off of Scottish Highland numbers. They like to work off of Angus numbers because they're just a time-proven, tested, common thing.
So it's like maybe it's a certain niche that these small farmers need to get into instead of just I would call it production. I'm going to sell my corn to the elevator or the ethanol plant or whatever. Maybe they need to start looking at other revenue streams within that. Like I said, maximizing that acre and to get as much, So
that was my theory behind it, is if I'm going to be doing this and I've got $4,000, let's say, do I want that to be an Angus, or do I want that to be a registered Scottish Highland that I could maybe 3x my dollars on?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you look at it, it's like I said, we're black Angus cows, have some simmental in there, but if we got 100 acres of pasture, we like to run, I don't know, 2 acres per head, and we got more than 100 acres of pasture. Yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. But it's, maybe if we use that for some specialty, we could be producing more revenue off that acre. But guess what? Change is hard. We know what we're doing in a sense, and it's easy.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep doing it.
Well, yeah. Every time I bring up Scottish Islands, they're the furry ones with the long horns, and how do you move them through the chute and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's not as easy. It makes it really important to start off your herd with a really good mom, a good matriarch. Halter broke, stuff like that is going to save you a lot of time.
Yeah.
And a lot of cuss words and a lot of just kicking at the dirt, because otherwise I get it. Yeah. Why would you want to deal with horns when you don't have to deal with horns?
And I think it'd help, like, for me, I could never, I should say never, but that's not my specialty. Like, getting into all the bloodlines and all that stuff. I'm not even going to start talking about it because I don't even know half the stuff. Like, so, like, I try to specialize in something. My brother specializes. He knows he's not good at the stuff I can do. Like, on the agronomy side, I'm in it. I live it. I breathe it. So he leaves that up to me on decision making. And when it comes to fixing stuff or mechanical stuff, whatever, guess what? Buckwheat.
Yeah. No.
I'll leave that to him. So we've learned.
But that's the great thing. And I see that. You got to figure that out at your daily job, too. Whatever that is, you got to figure out how people work and then how you work with them best.
And there's things like I've learned, like Kaya being the trainee, there's things I will give her task, and I must get sidetracked with other things going on and trying to whatever. And sheesh, it's not like 10 minutes later or whatever. She's like, hey, here's what you need here. I'm like, what? Like,
Need anything else?
Yeah, I'm like, really? Thanks.
What should I do with the next 50 minutes that you thought it was going to say?
God, that would have taken me all day because this guy would have called me and I would have got sidetracked trying to get this stuff done and this paperwork and whatever. Wow. So, it's learning.
Knowing where you're falling short is actually, if you can admit it, it's a little bit of an ego thing. But if people know how best to work with you and you can communicate that with them or they can identify it, it just makes everything so much easier.
Yeah. Wow, this is fun. I could talk here all day. I don't even know how long we've been doing this.
Time's flying. We'll take a break for a little bit, take a coffee break, and we'll be back. All right, we are back. Just a quick little break. And yeah, we were just discussing some of the podcasts that you like to listen to. Do you mind sharing just real quick, maybe one or two that you shared with me?
Oh, yeah. I don't listen to a ton of them, but I'll see glimpses and whatever. But there's that you're talking the New Heights podcast. Travis and Jason Kelsey, they're professional football players. But if you don't know Travis, that's Taylor Swift's girlfriend or boyfriend. But anyway,
you never know these days.
But I just love how, whether it's them or like I see, I just seen glimpses, but they just have simple conversations, and then all of a sudden maybe some hot topics come up, and
we can talk about USAID if you want. Just kidding.
No, I don't. I see enough to be dangerous with some of this stuff.
Yeah, and everybody's questioning what's real, and
I know I could go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's crazy. Obviously, government overspending is a real thing, and it seems like there's been a lot of spending in that area. So,
and does the world probably need to run it like a business? Geez, I don't know what our national debt is, but
I want to be like, hey, give somebody like $10 and then take all of their $10 slowly and then say, okay, now give your next dollar that you don't have to the guy who's hungry.
Yeah.
Are you hungry? You're going to get hungry.
I'd say not a single one of my customer farmers would be farming if, I don't know, we just decided to, you can't spend $700 an acre and then get back $500 every single year. I don't know. It
doesn't work.
The bank will sell no, but
we're econ people. It don't work, and so it's good to.
Oh, I remember.
Good to be making progress at least towards just trimming it. It's just got to happen whether people want to believe it or not. I mean it. Yeah. When you have more going out than you're taking in, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Speaking of econ, Dermot Hayes, I believe he retired this year, but he was our Econ 101. And I will never forget, it must have been a lecture on diminishing margin of returns. And he always talked about, hey, when you're hungry, that first cheeseburger tastes pretty good, doesn't it? Mm. Oh, yeah. How's the second one taste? It might be all right, but not as good as that first one. And the third one, I just still remember. So I try to tell guys in farming, I'm rolling it back, is if I can spend $10 an acre, and at the end of the day, say corn's $5 a bushel. I don't know. If I can spend $10 an acre and get 2 bushels back, so a 10 to 10, I'm gonna do it. And everyone, they all look at, not all of them, but some are like, why would you do that? You're risking $10 an acre in hopes just to at least get $10 back. I'm like, yes. Why? I can raise more bushels, so if the price of corn goes up, I have more bushels to sell, make more money. Now it can go down and stuff, and obviously then it'll be worth it. But
you can store it. You can.
Yeah, but with raising those more bushels, I keep raising my APH. Ha.
Another acronym.
And that stands for, I believe, actual proven. No, how's that? Actual proven history.
Sounds right.
It's your yield. It's your yield history. It's your APH. It's insurance.
Go ahead and look it up on Google, or you can ask your favorite search engine or AI engine.
It's your proven history for what you can grow on that acre. And if I can keep raising that with crop insurance, your guarantee keeps going up. So at the end of the day, as long as my guarantee is going up, that's what I'm doing. So I want to spend as much money up till that point. And yeah, even if it doesn't make me any money, if it's a break even, I'll do it. Now it's hard to get guys to do that because we'll pick on
nobody wants to just break even though.
No, they want to double their money.
Yeah,
that's really what it is. Like fungicide. Yeah, we'll talk about what fungicide costs. Say it's $50 an acre applied. In corn's $5 a bushel. Okay, I need 10 bushels to break even. 10 bushels to make it worth it. I tell guys, try to make it easy. I want 20. I said, we could. I don't know. Some hybrids will do that. But yeah, the farmer wants to, at the end of the day, a lot of them don't want to risk spending the money to not get the return.
Yeah.
But what I see from a whole scope of different customers and farmers, I'm starting to see a bigger gap in yields.
From those who are doing that and who are not.
Who are highly, I'm going to call it intensively managing their acres, whether it's variable rating, their seed scripts or fertilizer, or maybe a couple throw in value-added products to on fungicide and all that. Just, I'm going to call it maybe spend an extra $50 an acre. Their yields could be 20 to 30 bushels more. I don't know. Just trying to, it helps because I farm.
And over thousands of acres, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. And so it helps when I farm and I do a lot of trials on my acres, and my dad's kind of my guinea pig too, because we talked about this earlier. I can't, just in my blood, I can't sell just to sell. I have to see it, feel it, touch it,
believe it. I think that's a little bit of generational for whatever reason too.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, I got off down a rabbit hole again.
No, that's all right. Some people will appreciate that. All right, so we're going to wrap up with one more question, and then you can ask me a question, and then at the very end, start thinking about how you want to let people know they can get a hold of you, assuming that somebody actually hears this.
Yeah. So I want to talk about like what I wish my clients
and this is a question that I provided you. I like to ask people, essentially just that. What do you wish your clients knew or understood about what you're doing or what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, so first, I want them to know, for me, it's just creating that relationship, that trusted advisor, and most of them know the role and they understand what I'm here for. But I want to make their lives easier, because a lot of the stuff I deal with is a commodity. Some of it's a commodity, so you could probably go down the road and get it, whatever. But I want them to know that I'm trying to make their lives easier, organized, so when the time comes, they can be successful and then start producing more, making more money. I don't know.
Bring up their time.
Yeah, because I think that's where some of these guys have their biggest issues. There's a few things I do as a service. That's just a thing. I don't charge for it, where it shows what hybrid and how many bags is going on that field. So instead of giving them a couple pallets of bags or boxes of seed corn and stuff and say, hey, go plant it, I have it all organized where, hey, when I get to grandma's 80 or the home place or whatever field, They look at the binder and the sheet of papers and everything I provide them. They know what they're doing. And it works both ways. Then they don't have to call me. We're all busy in the spring. So time management, helping with their time management. But that's what I want guys to see, is that I'm here to be a service and a help. I've had some guys like, oh, you just want me to spend more money. No, I would love your business.
This is the help me help you segment that I've just coined it.
Like, I would love, and that's what I've learned as I keep getting into this. Yeah, I'm technically a salesman, but you've learned service sells. So I'm just here, and I've talked to Kaya about this too. It is nerve-wracking trying to do a cold call and all of this. But I said, hey, as long as you know your products and your confidence and what you can offer, don't try to make it feel like a sale. Like, I'm here to help you.
It's a mental block almost that we put on ourselves, I think, when we hear the word sell.
Yes, huge. Oh, huge. Yeah, that you're right. And so that's what I've learned. And I just want my farmers and customers to know, I just want to help you. And because nothing is more, I have a grower, his aspirations is 300 bushels per acre on a farm, whether it's an 80 or 100 acres, I don't know, just on one farm. And to chase that, it's fun. We're trying, but the joy, I've seen 260s, I've seen 270s. That's a lot of bushels.
Yeah, for those who don't know, that's a good number.
I don't know, the excitement and joy that they're getting, because they've been farming for 40 years. They have a goal in mind, and to be a part of that, that's what helps me keep going. But that, I don't know, that's what I want to make sure that my customers know is I'm ask away, help them, whatever, even if it's agriculture, agronomy related or not, whatever. That would be my hope.
Yeah. You're an approachable guy. Nobody should be afraid of you.
They shouldn't. I don't know.
All right. So now is the point, the dreaded point that I let somebody ask me a question, and full disclosure, I do not know what this question is. So
yeah, I was going to mention that. I was like, hey, do you want to know the question so you're prepared? Nope.
Nope. Shoot it to me. We'll see how stupid I sound.
Oh, okay. We're going to circle this back around to, obviously, agriculture. So when it comes to agriculture, in your line of work, or what the last, I'll call it 10 years, whatever, what negative things or remarks have you heard out in the industry, out in the world, from your day to day, and how do farmers in the ag industry do better at telling their story and making it not negative?
What do you mean negative remarks?
So when I say that, thanks for the question. When I
and
say
that wasn't on purpose. I said I was going to do.
Yeah. when I say negative things or remarks,
in what situations do you picture me hearing them? What, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. You hear out and about, or it's probably more in the bigger cities but it just seems like ag has a negative. People don't know what the heck we're doing.
No. Everybody's so removed from the farm. They don't know if Cheetos come from the Cheeto man. There's a little tiger bouncing around spitting out Cheetos out of his butt. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's that
so
bad.
I guess in turn, we hear about the negative stuff. So have you heard any negative direct impacts? Have you run into someone in Sioux Falls or whatever that they don't know what they're talking about, or maybe they do, whatever, but that's what I'm getting at is, have you heard any negative things about farming or the ag industry in general? And how does, this has been going on for a long time, I feel like, how do we we're a small community, how do we tell the rest of the world what we're doing? Because we don't. We put our hat on, we put our head down, and we go to work.
Yeah, just so people know, I'm a pretty trustworthy guy, right? I'm not too scary. I'm a tall, skinny dude, and you could beat me up, whatever. And so you think I would be... I feel like I'm a pretty approachable person. Usually got a smile on my face, and I went to the Sioux Falls Farm Show, and man, there's no chance that I'm going to get a... Let's say... It's that once you get to that 50, 55, the odds of that somebody actually feeling like, one, they have anything worth hearing, which is part of the problem, but two, to be on record. Our age is a little bit more okay with it, and maybe that's because of the technology we've been growing up with, but there was a guy that one of this USDA loan officer, her name was Gail Gullickson. She's, oh yeah, I'll get farmers over to you. And I was like, I know you're excited and I know it sounds easy, but this isn't going to be easy. And she's, oh, I'll get them. Oh, I know this guy. And I was just standing there. She introduces me, yada. Hey, Alex is doing these recordings, just 10 minutes, have a conversation with him. Tell us about your year. Something simple.
Yes.
Nope. This guy was not having it.
Shut down.
He's hanging out with his son, and they're just, farmers are quiet, humble, private.
Yeah.
Don't like to make a stink. They love to talk, but they don't like to be recorded. And I guess I'd like to change that. And that's my goal, but I'm just one man. It's really got to come from the farmers, and I'm not going to be holding the gun to anybody's head to get them to do this. I want to find the people who want to talk. And I think maybe you can just tell people, I don't know where you were at with even doing this, but this is probably your first time recording an episode.
First time ever.
A little bit nerve-wracking?
Yeah, and in terms of, I don't know, like, not saying, I mean, it's easier when we're just having a conversation, knowing that, putting that through my brain, but yeah, that first 5-10 minutes is,
And nobody and the biggest thing, I think,
I don't want to say the wrong thing,
is you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want any gotchas. I understand why people want to make sure that they trust the person who's behind the mixer board. I totally get that. This mixer board isn't even connected to my computer because I trust computers to mess things up. Yeah. And I'm in tech. We do websites. We do social media. Yeah. We do a little bit of everything. If you need something done online, we can do it.
Yep.
But I also know that computers fail. My vehicle, I haven't been able to tell how much fuel's in it for the last 4 months. It's ridiculous. Talk about anxiety, but I just learned to live with it. But we're recording right onto an SD card, and until that physically gets placed into a computer, it's not even on the internet. So I get that, and I really do understand and have the same feelings that a lot of these farmers do. It's uncomfortable. It's not easy to do this, and it's nerve-wracking, and you don't like your voice, and you don't think you have anything worth being heard. But, man, I tell you what, my favorite part of this is when we're done, and when I get to see the aftermath of how people are finding their voice. I know I'm part of that, and they're looking at the world different from just this little hour we spent together. That's what's filling me up.
Yeah.
That I had no expectation of.
That's what I didn't know. I don't know. With the internet today, good, bad, ugly, a lot of the older guys, it's maybe ruined a lot of things. And it could, I don't know if it's ever going to replace me, because this younger generation coming in, they have access to a lot of things. How deep should I plant my corn? Let me just Google it. Right or wrong, but so I don't think it'll ever replace it. But yeah. I'm telling you, that's with the internet. But I don't know. I just was been curious on if you had heard anything personally, because there's enough stuff out on the internet, why ag is bad or
everybody. The internet makes everybody feel bad, and it's not just farmers. I was thinking about that on the way here. It's teachers. Everybody is getting burned out, and it's coming from the internet, and everybody's doing it to themselves. We're all a bunch of masochists, I swear. I'm telling you, TikTok knows what catches your attention. And so if you're a teacher and you spend the last 3 hours of the day worrying about teaching practices and am I doing good enough, and is it even worth it?
Yeah.
Yes, you're doing good enough. Yes, it's worth it. Get off of TikTok. Stop scrolling through reels. Start doing things that actually make a difference. You cannot control what happens to you. You can control what you put in, and then there's always an output. But if you're not putting anything in, you're not getting any output that you want. Not even close.
Yeah. So whether it's your job or farm, how do you tell what's, in your opinion, what's the easiest way to tell your story, or how do you get it out there? But then how do you know that how do you know you're making a difference?
You never know. You just got to believe in yourself a little bit. But if you're not, this is another good one. if you're not telling your story, who is?
I
Everybody
think,
else.
yeah.
And so how much that's what, and I like that idea because it gets people to be like, wait a second, I don't want frickin' so-and-so across the county telling my story. I want to tell my own story. And the thing is, nobody else can really tell your story because they don't know your story.
Yeah.
I live a mile away from a guy. Saw him at the farm show. He didn't even know we had 7 other brands that I'm trying to point out. And he lives a mile from me. So I think we get in our own heads a little bit, worry about what other people think about our stories. But the reality is if you're not marketing yourself a little bit, then nobody is.
Yeah.
And then you're subject to whatever other people think. And I'm not perfect. I'm sure I've messed up in my life and made some people mad, right? That's just part of life. That's part of doing things. It's one of those output things. You just try and get a little bit better every day, I think. And that's really all you can do.
Yeah. Time will tell.
Yeah, just one. I look at it like it's like a tree or crossroads. It's one of those graphs, and every time you take the right move, you're just this much closer to where you want to be.
Yeah.
But the sad thing about that path and that tree is sometimes the left path, it doesn't take you very far, but that right one, that takes you back 50 steps.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind. Not every decision is going to launch you up the front. It's going to take a lot of good little decisions and just belief in yourself before you really start reaping what you've been sowing.
Yeah. I think that's what I think the hardest thing, like you said, like for the ag community, we're small, to have all this negative connotation out. And I'm sure there's plenty good out there too, but I don't know, to try to get into the big cities and whatever, like to say, I don't know, we're doing our best. We ain't doing this for fun. It is fun. But
if you're not having fun, then
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work.
That's why a lot of these guys do it. But I don't know. I've thought about that for a long time, and I'm probably part of the problem because, like I said, what do? I wake up, go to work. You share locally. Most of the community that I deal with, we all know what we're in it, why we're doing good and what we're doing. But so I don't know. A lot of these growers, you call it humble. They're private. I have some guys, they don't want to tell me what things yield, and I have very few customers like that because they do trust me. And I don't share it with guys, but I don't bring names up, but I like to, in conversation with guys, hey, believe in yourself. I don't say the guy across the road, but I know some of these guys, they're doing certain things and they're like, they're stuck in their own head. They're like, I can't produce that. I'm like, yes, you can. The guy across the road, I'm thinking this in my mind, has got you by 60 bushels. Yes, you can. Don't be stuck back in the old 80s and think you can only grow 160 to 80 bushel corn.
No, I get it. And I know I struggle with that in certain parts of my life. And I try to go back to Kevin Kimley, and he gave me a piece of advice once where I think he was giving it to everybody. I was in a group setting, but you will be so much better off doing things, sharing information with others and playing nice than if you try and hold your cards to your chest.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
It wasn't those words exactly, but that was the point. Play nice. Get involved in the community. Help a brother out. It's short. It really is a little bit of short-sighted thinking. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. I don't know how you fix that because farmers are also stubborn, and I don't know how we overcome hardened hearts, but
there's becoming a lot more transparency out in the farming world,
whether they like it or not. Yeah,
it's wild. Yeah, there's some things with picking up more farm ground or whatever. Yeah, just people put bids out there and, hey, $400 an acre. Do you want to rent it or not?
And I think people they're worrying about it so much that it stops them from doing it. That in itself is a big enough roadblock that they just, the default is so easy. I've done it this way. I don't know.
I could go down I have a customer. Like I said, I have enough guys we have all different practices, whether it's corn on corn and all this. I got guys that they think they need to do this and this and this, and they grow great corn. Now, long term, is it great for the soil health and all that? And is it going to work later on? I don't know. And then versus the other guy that does only a few things, and they yield very similar. It's, dang, do we need to be doing that? I don't know. Every farm, everything's different. Like I said, that's another thing too. I want guys to, it's their livelihood and it's their career. Flat out, some of these farmers need to, I don't want to say work at it harder, but dive deeper into it.
Become a little more passionate.
Yeah. And they're scared, and they are scared, especially in a group setting, to ask questions.
Yeah.
They don't want to be the...
Well, and nobody wants to admit that they don't have the answers sometimes.
I have no answers for a lot of things, but I'll try to find them. And that's what I tell guys.
I'm young, and I don't have ego figured out, but I know that just in my short amount of time that, like, ego is a big thing, and it gets in the way of people helping themselves. They just... It's okay to not have all the answers.
Yeah.
It really is.
Okay, yeah.
But you need to surround yourself with data. You need to surround yourself with like-minded people who are trying to do the same thing. Otherwise, you are going to get left behind a little bit because they have an advantage. That's a competitive advantage.
Yeah. Okay. I got to ask you another question.
Oh, here we go. All right, last question.
Yeah, this is more about, I guess, more focused towards you and your businesses and all this. But have you sat down with your teams and all that and set a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals and how you're going to get to those goals, or what's it look like? Or
we were actually just
talking. Or do you think this is important?
No, I think it's important, but the world's changing so fast that I think anything beyond a year is a little bit of, okay.
In your industry?
In my industry, in the technology world.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense, because farming, I would say, what's your 3 year plan? Do you want to farm another so much? Do you want,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So when it comes to technology, I think, not that having a 5 year plan isn't a valuable thing, but I struggle with pie in the sky and forecasts and stuff like that.
Sure.
I know what I want. I'm terrible at communicating it, I feel, but it just bounces around in my head.
You communicate it, but you're communicating it to yourself inside your head. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But eventually, I think Josh said it really good. It's once you finally get people to see, once you get that communicated, once you get that vision and they are seeing it too, then is when things start getting really big or start going faster towards what you actually want.
Like progress.
Yeah. But technology world, I feel, is a little bit of a different animal, because what's Grok going to be able to do with its next version in 6 months compared to, and how do you use AI? What is an actual good use of AI? Yeah. Voice transcription assistance, good use of AI. It'll save you time, help you collect your thoughts, but at the same time, it requires you to be able to talk. So I don't get so worried that AI is going to take over necessarily, but I also don't agree with Adam Curry, who I was listening on Joe Rogan's podcast, who invented the podcasting world, essentially.
Okay.
AI it's here to stay, and we're going to slowly figure out ways that we can use it just to make things simpler. And
time. We talked about that earlier. There's only so much time.
When you can get AI tied in with certain actionable things, like composing that email before you even get to the computer based on the conversation that you just had, or not having to remember to reach out to a client because you left a voicemail and didn't, you know what I'm saying? There's there's stuff we have to do, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in your office and there goes the next 2 hours, and there goes that task that you should have put into your CRM to blah, 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 blah. Yep. So we're only human. I think it can augment us. I'm not probably going to be getting the Neuralink chip in my head. I don't really trust that. Even if it could cure. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I think you might have sent me that like years and years ago.
Yeah. Guy's playing video games, like, incredible. He can move his cursor more accurately to spots than any human by some sort of exponential speed. Like, your mind can do pretty incredible things, and it works really fast. texting is actually a really inefficient way to talk to people, and one of the most common ways that we actually keep in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going on that AI thing. One last thing quick is I'll never forget. I don't know if it was 5 or 10 years ago. I don't know. We were talking. I don't know if it was on the phone or texting. I have no idea. But that was one thing you brought up. It must have been early stages AI. And you were like, I don't know if it was like something like what could change the future or what are you most nervous about or scared of or whatever, good or bad. And you mentioned AI, and I didn't even know what that meant.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
How about AGI? Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
Artificial general intelligence.
AI in my world is active ingredient for the chemicals.
And maybe it's artificial insemination.
Oh, yeah. So I just remember that. And
That's why I hate acronyms, because the whole time I was talking to Josh, he runs an AI company. I'm like, oh, artificial insemination, not tech. We are a tech company. No.
Yeah. So that's funny. And I'll never, for whatever reason, I've never forgotten that. And now that it's coming bigger and bigger, this AI stuff, the artificial, I remember in that Neuralink thing or whatever, you sent that to me, but you're like, I thought at the point you said like you were scared, good or bad or whatever, but like, this thing could be real. I think, like you said, you can utilize it really good, and I think it could be super dangerous probably. I don't know. Time will tell, but...
And I can tell you right now that there's no chance that I'm going to be a part of shaping that.
No.
And yeah, the stage is set for the AI world, I feel like, with everybody that's involved. And I don't know that somebody in Lyon County or Dickinson County is going to have an AI startup in their garage that's going to break through what people are already working on, but it's going to... If we let it, it'll make things more efficient. Some people are going to refuse to use it, and they're going to not be as efficient, and that's okay too.
Yeah. So
at some point, you want humans to be required. That's where we're at right now. Is we're deciding how much AI we want, I think, and some people are going to just keep going until it's in a robot and.
Yeah,
it's downloaded your likeness, and it's basically you. And yeah,
who knows what this? So we're in our 30s. Oh, geez, I don't know. Next 30 years, that's gonna be wild.
I'm happy to be alive right now. I don't know what the world's gonna be like. I think there's gonna be a lot of really cool things. But we're on the doorstep of medical advancements that are incredible as well, and biological and chemical, and it's a bright future. It's a scary future, but it's nothing that I don't think we can overcome. At the end of the day, it still needs us right now.
Yeah, we're in control. That's what I look to a point. You're in control of your own whatever future. Make what you want with it.
Yeah, you control the inputs, not the outputs. So, yeah, otherwise, if you focus too much on the stuff you can't control, you just get lost and you don't do anything. So, that's my 2 cents.
Well, when some of that stuff happens to me, I get overwhelmed, shut down.
It's pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for showing up today.
Yeah, I know it was a little bit of a surprise, but let people know if they've made it about an hour and a half in, rough cut. How do they get in touch with you? What do you want to promote?
Yeah, I'd like to say just how do you get in touch with me? I'm not going to put my number out there directly.
Nope, I don't blame you.
But CFE, like I said, I work for CFE. We're a great co-op in Northwest Iowa. Like I said, we work with farmers in retail. We're a retailer. But like I said, go to the website. We have good information on there. We work really heavy with our communities. So I just put that plug in for CFE. Great co-op to work with and work for. Like I said, there's some nice stuff on the website. We put on different things out and about, some women in ag stuff. Go see all that stuff. Jeff Blauett puts out videos on Field Fridays every Friday just to give information on what's going on. But yeah, I don't know. Like
CFE, what's the URL?
It's www.coopfe.com.
All right. I know that sounds simple, but
yeah.
And somebody will probably mistype it, but
yeah. So no, we have a lot of great guys on the agronomy side that we work with, and like I said, yeah,
Awesome.
give us a chance.
Yeah,
So.
no, you guys do great things. Just closing comment. One thing I noticed last night, I was going through Facebook and saw that CFE did a food drive for the building that we used to be in Inwood. Manna Market is what it's called now. And yeah, there was a little bit of, I think all the locations were, or maybe a select few were pitching in. And yeah, it's just cool to get your employees involved or farmers or clients or whatever to feed people.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are feeding people with corn, soybeans, all that stuff, but when you can actually provide the food, people appreciate that. So.
Yeah. And understanding, like, we're a co-op, we're owned by the members. Like I said, we want to do great things in our community, keep building up. We're going to be here for a long time.
Of that, I have no doubt.
Yeah, like I said, this has been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure to spend a little time with you. Don't get to see you very often, but yeah. All right, thanks for listening. This has been Farm Country Trader Alex Haig. You can like and subscribe on YouTube, or we do have a Patreon account, patreon.com/farmcountrytrader. There you can get a little bit more involved in the conversation if you have questions for people like Casey. That's a good opportunity. We've got a community chat that's built in where we can post some exclusive content, maybe behind the scenes photos, videos, stuff like that. Thanks for listening.